Welcome back to another episode of the Choose954 Podcast, episode 116, with our upcoming CreativeZen speaker, Stella Amador, here at the Design Center of the Americas in our Zero Empty Spaces location where the talk is going to be held. If you didn't know about Choose954, myself, Evan Snow, and my business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, started the social movement to cultivate culture and community here in my native Broward County in an effort to keep people to know with all the great things that are going on, to try to make this a better place to live and not just a better place to vacation. The point of the podcast is to connect you with interesting people like her that do important things in the community. And I think we're going to find this is actually a unique one that really haven't had too many poets or people hosting poetry showcases kind of like you do. So without much further ado, for those that are not familiar, why don't you kind of introduce yourself and give a little background?
Thank you. First, I want to commend you for doing this. I know it's a labor of love. I know that you're very enmeshed in the community and you're building up artists and putting them in the spotlight. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my story. So thank you. And thank you for giving us the space. My name is Stella Amador. I am a poet, author, entrepreneur, self-proclaimed cartographer of dreamers.
Okay.
And I've spent 20 years helping individuals and businesses grow organically and sustainably. Through that process, I've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't. And with that, I was able to create something called the plant framework, which is the framework that I've used instinctually and holistically throughout my life for myself and then for the people and businesses that I helped. And that's pretty much, the things that I'm very passionate about is helping people follow their dreams.
Okay. So could you tell us maybe a little bit of like the origin story of what kind of inspired the plant framework, how you discovered and how you implemented this plant framework?
Yeah. So like I said, for 20 years, I built businesses across a variety of industries. I did it with law practice. I did it in construction and multiple startups. And a few things and patterns emerged that really honed in on the idea of what really works in every case. And it's really about connecting your values with your actions. So for example, if you are someone that cares about community as you do, Evan, it's not enough to just care about it. You consistently show up in a way that tells the world and builds and shows your character that this is important to you. So my plant framework and my entire goal as an entrepreneur has been to highlight that and to connect that for people in a way that feels organic, natural, and also accessible. It's not inaccessible. It's something that you can do if you're paying attention.
Wow. Okay. Important stuff. I think everybody could benefit from a little plant framework in their life.
Yeah.
What does plant stand for? Is it an acronym?
It's an acronym. So plant, so my company, and I'm still very much excited to share, my company is Bloom by Stella. And it's all about connecting with nature and being in tune with your own rhythm. And so plant was a natural acronym for that particular sentiment, which is how do you connect with yourself in a way that feels holistic, organic, that is also practical. So PLAN stands for prioritize your values and intentions, learn new skills, act on your plans and goals, nurture your relationships, and last but certainly not least, take care of yourself. So it has been my experience that when you do all of those things or a combination of them or just simply being aware of them, that awareness in and of itself creates a ripple effect in your life that really changes the dynamics of how you interact and move through the world. And you can see it with yoga, you can see it with the mindfulness space, you can see it in a variety of different spheres. But I've simplified it in a way because I have two brains and they work simultaneously. I've simplified it in a way that is digestible and easy for anyone to put into practice.
Love that. Okay, and this is just a preview because we're gonna get to hear your full story next Friday morning as part of our CreativeZen Talk series, which is a monthly breakfast lecture series, a mini TED Talk that we host for free every second Friday morning of the month. It's going to be here at our beautiful Zero Empty Spaces Artist Studio location inside the DCOTA, the Design Center of the Americas, where this event is where I initially received my aha moment that inspired me to pursue my passions of art and culture, community building, that changed the course of my life, my community, and hopefully beyond through the work that we're doing today, which is why I pay it back and pay it forward and continue to host. So it's a free event. You can find more at CreativeZen Talks online, on Eventbrite, social media, all the things. And this event is very special, and I wanted to find a way to weave in a little bit about your new brand that you're so excited about, because it was created by a dear friend of ours who is a former speaker whose life changed by sharing her story at a very similar event to this, Creative Mornings in Fort Lauderdale. Enid Nolasco, a.k.a. Enid Casablanca, a.k.a. Raw Made.
Yes.
Where she shared, and at the end of her sharing her story, the first question they asked was, what's next? And she's like, now 8 years ago, I believe, she said, I want to start a true storytelling show in Fort Lauderdale called Raw Storytelling. I blurted out, come to Accent Club, our goal setting accountability mini mastermind group.
Yep.
She came 5 months to the day. Raw Storytelling was incubated, ran very successfully and lovingly to the community up until COVID, but it served its purpose, and now she's doing important things like helping creatives and entrepreneurs like yours with her branding company called Raw Made, which recently rebranded. We're giving Enid all her flowers right now.
Absolutely. She deserves them.
Amen. So actually, with that being said, could you tell us a little bit about the brand and kind of a little bit about Bloom by Stella?
Absolutely. So Bloom by Stella was born as I was running a construction company. I was building a construction company. I was towards the end of it. I knew that it was time for me to move on. And I remember specifically sitting down in 2017 and having my plant framework in the background guiding me to what is it that I really want? What are my values going forward? Which is something, I evaluate every few years. Is this still exciting for me? Am I still excited to wake up and do this? And at the time, it was time for me to go and move on to the next thing. So Bloom by Stella was born out of this fanatical love of flowers and nature and all of the things that really resonate with me. And there were so many things that are called bloom because it's a beautiful word. And I added, I had to get creative, and Bloom by Stella was born, and I started doing consulting work. I started helping individuals when I was doing mostly companies before that. And I loved the idea of seeing people's lives flourish and bloom when they connected with their heart purpose. Amen. And that's the origin story of how Bloom came to be. And then Enid and I began working together after I went to one of her raw storytelling moments. I fell in love with her, fell in love with the story, fell in love with that kind of environment. As an artist, I saw so many opportunities for us to work together. I started referring some of my clients to her, saw the beautiful work she was doing, and I always said to her, when I launch my business, when I move on from this, you're going to be my person. And when I did, and I was ready, not only did she design Bloom by Stella, she designed my book, Plant Your Life Planner, from cover to back. I gave her the specifications of what I wanted and how I wanted to design it, and she did a phenomenal job. It's got on my notes, so excuse those. She and I worked together for what feels like 6 months, a marathon, and she got everything that I wanted, hit all the notes. It's a blend of the plant framework, which is very structured, but because I've been a secret poet for most of my life, I wanted to bring that in. It was part of my values, and my intentions going forward was to merge all of the parts of me. It has my inspirational, nature-inspired poetry woven throughout the book, and as well as reflection, prompts, and questions to make you pause and really think about what matters and how to connect that back to your daily life. And she did a phenomenal job. I could not have asked for more.
And I believe in serendipity, and I think this is very serendipitous timing. I can only speak for myself that I think I probably need some not just the plant framework, but the plant book planner in my life. So I appreciate you sharing that. It is beautifully designed, and from just a little bit that I just looked through, seems like there's a lot of not only like value, but like real, tangible, implementable, easy to follow, easy to implement steps in here that I don't want to say I didn't know I needed in my life, but I do know I need in my life. So I will be definitely purchasing a copy very soon, not the one with your notes in it.
No worries. Can I tell you my favorite feature?
Please.
Okay, so I became a publisher just so that I can publish my book the way that I wanted to. The idea of giving this project over to another company or another entity, being it so close to my heart. Like I said, I was a secret poet for most of my life. I only shared my poetry for the very first time on stage 3 years ago. I also left my company 3 years ago. And so one of the beautiful things that I wanted in here, which was a non-negotiable for me, which is why I hired Enid to design it, why I became a publisher, why I sourced and designed the book myself, is because I wanted this wildflower seeded page that is hand glued inside the planner. So every book has this. It is obviously a symbolic, beautiful gesture of how when you nurture and tend to your life with care, your life blooms. And you can actually plant it if you want, but it's meant as a symbolic, beautiful reminder.
And I guess the traditional publishing houses would probably not see it that way. And why are you doing that? That's more expensive, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So kudos to you for,
thank you.
Well, for
thank you.
all of the steps involved in the process. Inspirational. I self-published a book, and I know how difficult that is, let alone creating, your own publishing house. With this debut book, what do you hope that readers kind of take away from it, and something that maybe they can apply, right away into their lives?
The thing that really makes my heart soar the most and excited for life is that at any moment in your life, doesn't matter what you did before, doesn't matter what happened yesterday, at any moment you can choose differently for yourself, and you can change something that no longer serves you, something that you don't want to do anymore. At any moment. I've taken a lot of calculated risks in my life, and a lot of that comes from the acute awareness that life is fleeting. I've lost people that I loved dearly, family, and knowing that life is precious, and knowing how fleeting and how incredibly fortunate we are to live in a time and place where we can make choices for ourselves, that comes with a great responsibility.
Amen.
So if I can say anything to anyone, is it's never too late. There's no right time. There's no wrong time. It's the time when you want to do something and you get over whatever it is that's stopping you. That's the time when you can do anything.
And you can bloom.
Yeah, you can bloom. Life can bloom. I mean, this couldn't have been more appropriate. Also, everything you can imagine is real, and it's true. You can make anything happen.
Shout out to Art by Milda.
Shout out to the artists.
One of our longest tenured artists with Zero Empty Spaces. We're here in her beautiful studio, where everything you can imagine is real. Way to go, Milda. Couldn't agree more. And I think so many people, understandably so, they hold on to things. This is my baby. I invested so much time and money and energy into this thing. Sure. But if that shit is no longer serving you, you need to let that shit go so you can bloom. Hey!
Bringing it all back.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. I don't think I've ever even thought about this, let alone shared it, but I was a secret poet as well. And actually, I was just at my parents' house for Yom Kippur dinner, and we were going through old elementary school folders of my drawings, which are actually interesting. And I'm like, where's that box? Where's that cigar box of my poetry? And my mom's like, oh, I threw it out. And I'm like,
Oh, heartbreak.
and it was actually, I remember like,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was actually pretty good, but it was really more like this amazing creative outlet for me before I knew that it was an art form, before I knew I had a love for the arts, before I knew that about how storytelling and ways to express myself. So poetry and creative expression can be many different things for many different people. You blend poetry, mindfulness, and entrepreneurship in a really unique way. How did those worlds kind of come together for you, you know, organically and authentically as it appears that they have?
It was me getting over that buildup of I'm a secret poet, and I processed a lot of my grief, a lot of life through poetry, secretly, never shared with anyone. As a matter of fact, the first time I shared my poetry with a teacher was in 7th grade. He, unbeknownst to me, sent it off to a contest. I won 3rd place in the state.
Wow.
That should have been a clue for me to lean into that. But because I was an immigrant, I came to this country when I was 11. I come from an artistic family. I always assumed I would be an artist. It was just my legacy of what I was raised around. When I came here, there was an immediate of like, no, that's not something that's possible for me now, because my mom was a single mother. I had 2 older brothers. They were working. I had the privilege of being the youngest and having the ability to go to school. So I became laser focused on becoming independent financially and being able to provide for myself, getting a scholarship, and the plant framework kind of holistically developed through my writing, through my very young years. I have papers that I've saved where I did a business plan for my life, and I have read it back 20 years later, and it is exactly where I am today.
Wow.
And it's scary, and I get goosebumps. I never allowed the creative side of me to be expressed, other than I used it strategically in the businesses that I was a part of. So I wrote blogs. I, became a writer in whatever industry I was in. So if I was in construction for 11 years, I owned the construction company. I was writing articles to all of the trade publications. I was at expert panels and giving talks. So my creative side seeped that way. Secretly, I was writing love poems. I was writing poetry about all of the things that were happening, but just was really scared to share it. And it felt very vulnerable, and it didn't feel practical for me, even though I knew that wasn't real.
Sure.
It just, in the space that I was in, I didn't have that ability until 3 years ago. And I decided, why is that even a thing for me? And it became something that was important. I put it to the forefront. I left my company. I started sharing my poetry. I gave myself a challenge of going to an open mic every week. So I went from not doing it to going to an open mic every week until the first time I read a poem out loud, I slept 10 hours that night.
The before?
After I read it, there was a huge, and because you're a poet, there is a pressure release that happens when your soul gets to put the things on paper that are really sitting on your chest. And the ability to hold space for that vulnerability was the catalyst for everything that came after in my life, which is this book, me being able to create a space now through Wild Bloom Poetry, where it's probably the proudest and the most aligned projects that I've ever done have been when I've merged the 2 sides of me, the architect, the builder, the creator, with the dreamer, the gardener, the cultivator. And this book merges all the parts of me. And now Wild Bloom Poetry gives me the ability to give back, because I want those 20-something-year-olds to be able to have the space that I didn't feel I had, to be vulnerable and to create that, not for performance, not for perfection, but to hold space for the vulnerability of poetry, to release that pressure valve.
Which, unfortunately, isn't so many opportunities for poets, despite it being a beautiful art form. There are open mics, but there aren't that many opportunities. And I shared with you when I saw you last, you're in very good company for poets that have shared at CreativeZen Talks. If you needed more reasoning to attend, you're following in Darius Daughtry's footsteps, Quick the Poets, the one of the most successful poets of all time, Asia Sampson, who has been on Def Poetry Jam, Brenda Ryder. So we're glad to have you share. And for those that maybe are not familiar, could you just tell us a little bit more about Wild Bloom Poetry? Maybe what inspired it, and how has it helped nurture the creative poetry community and broader creative community here in South Florida?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I started attending open mics, and you said it perfectly. There aren't a lot of spaces that are poetry specific. There was a lot of great spaces and people doing wonderful things for a variety of arts. So comedians and musicians and poetry, and they were kind of lumped together. But poetry is very vulnerable, and so those spaces didn't give me, at least myself as a secret poet, the space that I really was craving. And there was a few that I fell in love with, like shout out to Miami Poetry Club, shout out to Arts Garage, shout out to my friend Oscar, the Biscayne poet, who hold the space for the vulnerability of poetry. And there was nothing in my neighborhood.
In Broward,
in Fort Lauderdale. And I was called to build it. I felt the need to create that space. I kept driving everywhere, and I was like, there has to be a space, and there wasn't. And so Wild Bloom Poetry was born from that. And then I took all the things that I loved and came up with some of my own. And Wild Bloom Poetry also includes jazz. So I love jazz. My father was a jazz musician. So for the opening, there's 40 minute beautiful musician called Izzy Guzman, who is a trombonist, and she opens up the space, anchors us, kills the nerves a little bit, chills us out. And I also wanted to highlight a local poet who is doing the thing, who is grinding, who is trying to build up their career or is in their career of poetry, and have them open the space for us. So for 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes, I host a poet that is established, that has a book, they're promoting something, and I give them that space. And then we open it up for the open mic thereafter. And it's not about performance, it's not about perfection, it's about showing up, speaking your truth, sharing, releasing that pressure valve, and us holding space for it.
And where and when does this happen?
Yes, good point. Thank you. It is the third Wednesday of every month. It happens in the beautiful downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale, Emily's Garden. They are a beautiful partner, sponsor of the event, and they want to be the home for all things Wild Bloom Poetry. Wild Bloom Poetry Open Mic is the first iteration. I have many, many more projects that are going to come in the future, along with working with Emily's Garden to bring them to fruition. That supports the arts, that support jazz, music, poetry, dreamers, a space where we can all come together and just build the world that we want to live in.
So you're going to help Emily's Garden plant their future?
No, I'm gonna. We're working together to create space.
Yes,
for that.
I know. I wanted to find another way to plug.
Yeah. No, we're planting seeds in Fort Lauderdale.
Amen.
Together.
And this is really good stuff. I mean, from what I understand, I only got into arts in 2015, and there used to be more poetry open mic, or from what I even understand, I think there was a more slam poetry. And there is still some here and there, but there isn't really that container that you've so eloquently, as you just outlined, created. So kudos to you. I know a few of my friends enjoy going, including Frank, Shy to Words.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have my weekly men's group on Wednesday nights, but I'm going to try to find a way to make it at some point. If they would like to learn more and follow you on social media and interwebs, where can they find you?
So my handles are @Bloom, but at Bloom by Stella, so BYBLOOM Stella, and also at Wild Bloom Poetry. So either of those two, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and my website is bloombystella.com. Simple, easy.
Okay. And finally, with the things that you're working to have bloom, what's next for you on this journey, both as a poet, as an entrepreneur, and what's next to bloom for you? What would you like to bloom? What could somebody help support you with
so
blooming?
many things. So many things, so little time. But the truth is that Plant Your Life Planner is the beginning of a series of books.
Okay.
I created it with the idea that this is the foundation. This is where you begin. This is where you anchor your dreams, your values, the things that matter to you. And the second component of that is plant your days. I give you a preview of that at the end of the book of what your days should look like, what your weeks should look like, what should you be asking yourself every couple of months, every 6 months, what your check-in should look like. But I really would love to expand on that, to give more of a planner feel to the everyday. This is a life planner. I want to do the daily planner that really cements and helps you guide you on a more granular level, on a very everyday, small, intentional, how do you show up? How do you continue to show up for yourself and for those big dreams that you have? So that's in the works for next year. I also have this ridiculously beautiful idea of creating one of these that is specific to artists. So Plant Your Art Planner. How do you transition from being in a corporate world or in a 9-to-5 world to becoming an artist, and not becoming, because you don't become an artist, you are an artist, but you know what I mean, transitioning to making art the bread and butter of your soul, of your business, and moving forward with that. And so those are projects that are going to take some time. For me as a poet, I think I love that it's at the forefront now. It's no longer in the shadows. I'm no longer a secret poet. So my poetry has evolved in a beautiful way. And I continue to be excited about the evolution of my poetry and where it can take me. Sky's the limit. Anything's possible. I'm excited for all of it.
I like the, as an arts advocate and with helping artists with the Affordable Artist Studios here with the Zero Empty Spaces, the artist planner component. Have you ever heard of the Artist Way?
I have never done it, but I have heard of it, and I've heard wonderful things about it.
Yeah, people do rave about it. I have not done it myself. I'm not a practicing visual artist, but it is a planner format from what I understand, in addition to the book component.
Yep.
And certainly beneficial. So I'm sure within your framework, within your own creativity, within your own unique brand that now you've built, you can certainly bring these things to the world. And if maybe some of this resonates, feel free to reach out. You never know what can happen.
Yep.
You never know how you can change, your life, the community's life, the world through this work, through the gifts that you're sharing and that you're bringing. And, we're very grateful to have you here in the 954 and in the community. And one last question that we do like to wrap up with here is, what do you like the most about the 954 and living in the 954? Why do you choose 954?
I grew up in Miami.
Okay.
I grew up really enmeshed in the culture of Latin and all of the melting pots of culture, and being able to have the connection to all of the different cultures is really important to me. I've lived abroad, I've moved away and tried to build a life somewhere else. But what brought me back was that I couldn't find that melting pot the same way that I had it here. And so when I came back, I deliberately came back to 954 Fort Lauderdale, because it feels like a city with a small town feel. So you get to know the people, and you get to build connections, because it's got the city part, but it's still very, very connected and very accessible. Whereas Miami it feels like another world. It feels like there's so many layers to it. Fort Lauderdale is calmer. I'm older also. I'm not so much into the hustle and bustle of life as I used to be. And so Fort Lauderdale feels like a more tranquil, but still accessible to formulate those kinds of relationships and build those kinds of connections with people. And I think it's ripe for artists because there's not a lot. So we have the beautiful blank slate and a blank canvas that we can paint. You're doing a fantastic job supporting artists and giving spaces like these to artists for them to explore. And it can grow from there. It can continue to grow. And we have so much potential and so much work to do. So
very well put. I would tend to agree. I'm born and raised here in the 954, but when I was getting into my arts exploration, before I knew about arts advocacy, before I even wanted to become a creative entrepreneur, community builder, I did plug into creative community. I didn't just try to plug into creative community in Miami, but I would say, to your point, it is much more difficult to plug in to the creative community in Miami than it is here in Broward, where I used to joke, and I don't go to Miami all that often anymore, although I'm about to go right after this randomly, but people in Miami would be so quick to look at your shoes, watch, and your belt, or they would like judge you, like, oh, like, or like, who are you? What are you doing? Yeah. Like, and there was just like, there was like gatekeeping. And I like to think here in Broward, right, we're like, I don't know if less pretentious is the appropriate word, but more inclusive. And there is that blank slate and that blank canvas that somebody can start a poetry series, a storytelling series, a monthly breakfast lecture series, whatever that is, and people will get in and plug in. And sure, maybe we don't have the same resources and support like they do in Miami with philanthropists and, Oolite and Bakehouse and Fountainhead and all the artist residencies and all those things. But good things are happening here. You're definitely, sincerely, 100% doing a phenomenal job for the poetry community, for storytelling community. I know Frank and Enid, my friends that have attended, speak very highly of you, deservedly so. Also, I really was moved by what you shared at the Creative Mixer that we hosted with Panamia and Broward Third Spaces, B Spaces.
What did I say? I don't even remember.
You shared very eloquently. You shared about your story. You shared about the platform you created. And I think by sharing and like speaking up, like I don't, in all reality, I don't think people are aware that the situation is as such that, right, if you're a secret poet and you're trying to get out there and you're mind you, any art form, but specifically poetry, and you're trying to get out there and you don't have the platforms, you don't have the opportunities in your community, many people will leave that community to search it out other places, abroad, Palm Beach, wherever. So I am glad to continue supporting however we can through our little means and social media and giving you this platform to share your story, creating the content here with the podcast and the social clips and all that. And I certainly encourage, if any of this resonated with you, please don't hesitate to reach out. She's a
super approachable,
down-to-earth young lady with a great mission, great heart, a great brand.
Kudos to
Shout out to Enid, giving her all of her flowers because she's going to join us, and you're going to join us Friday, October the 10th, here at the Design Center of the Americas in Dania Beach at our Zero Empty Spaces location inside Atrium B. Free parking, free event, no catch, no cult. Doors open at 8:30. We have opportunity for mixing and mingling with other community members. The talk starts at 9. I try to get you out of here by 10. If you are worried about missing an hour and change of work, I have very truthful things that you could tell your boss. I'm going to get inspiration. I'm going to make new connections. I'm going to be part of the community. And this talk has changed many people's lives, not just mine, which is why I continue to pay it back, pay it forward, and continue to host. So I appreciate you taking the invitation and the opportunity to share.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you join us. Always looking for more podcast guests. Always looking for more people to share their thought-provoking, inspiring story at CreativeZen. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm an open book at Evansnow13, at Choose954. Email, social, all the things, we'll get it. And always looking for more spaces to give artists opportunities to have art studios with zero empty spaces. So give us a follow, all the things, and look forward to seeing you at CreativeZen.
See you then.
Cheers.